January meeting of the Port Industrial Commission. Just for the record, we didn't have a meeting in December because of the holiday, so this will be our first meeting since November. So again, welcome to everybody. I'd like to especially thank our city management for their wise decision this morning, not listening to the hype of the media and keeping the city up and running. I think that was a wise decision. Save those days off when we really need it. Let's see if we go ahead and have a roll call.
Mr. Barham? Mr. Bento?
Here.
Mr. Russo? Mr. Toops? Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Captain Watkins?
Yeah.
Mr. Barham, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. And just for the record, we do have a new commissioner. Unfortunately, he's not here this morning, Mr. Jim Toops. I'd look forward to hearing from him to see what his interests are with our commission and how he can contribute to us. But I guess we'll hear from him next month. So, we'll see when he shows up. Moving on, the minutes from the November meeting have been distributed to everyone electronically. I presume everyone's had a chance to look them over. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Any additions, deletions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
So make a motion.
A motion and a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Good. The minutes are accepted. Thank you very much. Financials, Ms. Lane, you want to run through our November and December financials, just to touch on the highlights if we have any?
Alright, so the November statements, there are no significant highlights. You're still getting your payments back from Pure Property and your bank interest. And the same for December. There are no significant changes on December. You're still receiving your note payments from Pure Property.
Pretty straightforward. Okay, very well. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to accept the November and December financials as they've been presented. Okay, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very well, thank you very much.
Seems like we got an awful lot of disposable income in town for a party.
I'd say so. Sounds good.
Is that all right, Mr. Mayor?
Let's think about that. What's there to think about?
Hey, thank you, Joey.
I was remiss in one thing in our welcome. I would like to welcome Councilwoman Simmons to our group here. She is now the council liaison for the Port Industrial Commission along with Councilman Mooney. So thank you for joining us this morning, and we look forward to you coming for future meetings. Also, Vice Mayor, thank you. You're very much on titles.
Yeah, oh yeah, we need titles.
Okay. Well, we're all the way down to old business, and I was looking forward to Chuck coming in. See, do you want to go ahead?
Well, I'll just pass along, really the two items that fall under the 2014 recap are the situation, sort of an update on the PER project, and then the timing is perfect. Ms. Rigney did share with you on that. And then with respect to the Burton's Point Road property, the former school board property that the school board passed on to the city, and the city has passed on to this authority, that is part of the remediation for the AWI Superfund site, and you all are sort of sitting on the sidelines while that property is being used as part of the landfill and cap for that, and then we'll have a property in a couple of years for brownfield redevelopment. So you all acquired or were in receipt of new industrial property in the along Portsmouth Point Road and the adjacent to the southern branch of the Elizabeth River. And then on the PER project, I think it all gonna turn it over to Mr. Rigney. The owners have started the process to apply for a use permit for, among other things, a concrete facility, and there are, I think, some incomplete items on their application that have been in discussions. And Mr. Rigney, there's more on that.
Good morning, everybody. And again, sorry I'm late this morning. I can't ever seem to get behind the right truck on the way to that tunnel. The application that Mallory was referring to is being worked on with planning, and Steve Herrick and I had an occasion to exchange calls last week. They're working on those things diligently. Question is, there's several uses that you can use that property for, and we're trying to determine exactly what this facility is going to look like, what its primary use is going to be, and then try to move ahead with a more solid and complete plan. You can do fertilizer, grain, concrete, and aggregate. And the facility itself, just the physical limitations of the size of the property would dictate that we need to know exactly what that type of usage is going to look like. And so their team has been working with Bob Baldwin and his guys, but we expect, I think their last meeting was just this past Tuesday. Not my alarm.
Stockbroker.
So I think what I've asked Steve and his guys to do is to brief us at our next meeting. They wanted to come in this morning, or we had talked about the idea of having them come in this morning and give everybody a brief, but the more I looked at it, the more I felt like it would be more productive if they could come in next week and next month and give us a much better idea of what this thing is actually going to look like. So they're making their way through the process, and they are looking forward to coming in and giving us a more detailed brief on who they are, what they're going to be doing, and when they're going to be doing it. But there's just a few other things that we need to button down first, I think.
Very well. So we should,
Mr. Chairman, what's the size of that piece of property up there again? The acreage and per
It's about 16.
16 acres. And I hate to ask you, but how about the Burton's Point?
6.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
so we would look for an update from them in February?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's fine, so we'll put that on the agenda for February, okay? And again, the Burton Point property, there's nothing really going on with that right now.
We've authorized EPA to use it,
Mhm.
and it's gonna be sometime in a couple of years before they're finished with that. And
So
over the course of the time, we'll have Randy Sturgeon with EPA come in and give a more thorough update
Right.
as they get a little closer, but, we'll authorize access for them to be on that property.
Okay, fine, very well. Any other questions on that, any discussion, further discussion?
Is Mr. Salmon doing anything on that piece of property up there? Is he doing any grain transfer from barge to container or whatever? Or is it just not being used right now, just being improved?
There hasn't been any
Just-
grain business there.
No, he hasn't done any active
Didn't have
work.
any
I mean,
barges.
he's doing preparation, he's cleared the site,
Okay.
and he's doing construction to prepare the site.
From what I've seen, there's been a lot of barge traffic with aggregates coming in, but it looks like he's still just leveling that property out. He's built it way up, which I presume is in anticipation of what the Superfund site is gonna look like.
And keep in mind, regardless of the use permit, he has to trail the EPA cleanup because of the wall that went up and the fill that's going in in between the wall and his property. So he's got a lag time, and has to trail behind them, regardless of whether he tries to add or changes any uses or just does the aggregate. Or just does the grain.
If I'm not mistaken, wasn't that dredging supposed to have started by now?
My understanding is they put it out for bid and it started in the fall.
And that's the dredging you're talking about, his wharf
Dig-
pier.
Digging out all that old creosote and everything and putting it behind that pier, or the bulkhead there. I haven't seen any equipment over there. Check on that. So, I'm not sure if that's been delayed further or not.
We'll check
It's on
with
the
Randy
channel
Sturgeon
side,
and the
take it
EPA.
from the channel side,
Mhm.
put it behind the wall,
Put it
cover
behind
it
the
up.
wall. Right, and all up on that uplands up there. That's gonna be going on for a while, I think. All right, very well, I appreciate that. And I guess just moving on, and I'm sorry that Mr. Toops isn't here, but I just would like to comment that it's January, we've got a full quorum now, and I'm hoping that we can really start moving ahead on some projects and maybe finding a little bit of direction on what we need to be doing here. So if everybody could just be thinking about that. Obviously, on the waterfront side, we don't have but so much we can do, but there are so many other things I think we can do in the city that relate to the waterfront, to the maritime industry. And I'd like to see us, moving forward on that. And with that, Chuck, do you have anything as far as new business plans for the year and
Well,
direction we're going?
yes, thank you very much. One of the things that we've been doing is cataloging all the available properties where there may be the ability to move to a higher and better use, or find out and determine the status of any particular property. One that I talk about quite a bit, and I think we'll be hearing a lot more about, is the BASF property, 50 acres. They have, if they've not received their final letter from DEQ relative to the cleanup that they've been doing on the site, it's imminent. The owner of the property is looking to divest itself of that non-performing asset. They are hopeful that the activity levels that are being stirred up by Colliers will result in additional prospect activity for us to take a look at. The big question today will then be, what is the highest and best use, and then we can all take a look at what it means to Portsmouth. Whatever
It's
they allow,
industrial.
Dan's gonna say, yeah, I want.
Heavy industrial.
Is BASF interested in selling that? Because it was my understanding that they were always looking for a long-term lease on it, or.
My most recent conversation with them was that as soon as they get the letter from DEQ, they'll do their final internal evaluation and determine if they can sell all of it or parts of it. And they may have to split it up, or they may have to, or they may be able to sell all of it. They don't know yet.
Do you know when, kind of when that'll be, just,
In the next couple of months,
Yeah, I'd say first quarter.
they're gonna hustle as soon as they get the information from DEQ.
Chuck, you mentioned the name just a minute ago. Colliers or something?
Yes, it's a big, large brokerage company that has been hired by the company. Real estate.
Oh,
group.
real estate, okay.
Yes,
So
and they're a very diversified group. They industrial, retail, office.
So they're looking for a possible use of that piece of property, they're not interested in buying themselves.
No, but they would love to find an investor. And yesterday I met with Bobby Acey and Don Goldberg, both with Harvey Lindsay, and they do some industrial work as well. And we talked about riverfront assets and what they might be doing. You might recognize Don's name, former director of development in Chesapeake, and now city councilman in Suffolk. Longtime friend, and very interesting conversation, and they believe that they've got folks that they bring in and make aware of it. So we're trying to put a good package together that kind of complements what Colliers is doing. It's our understanding that the company is in a place where they're either gonna have to start laying off employees or sell non-performing assets in order to make up the difference of what their financial picture looks like. So I think we have an interested seller. And it'd be a process to figure out what do we want to do with, what would we want to see as the city of Portsmouth on that site, complementary to everything else that we're doing, and making certain that it has, if an industrial use, something that isn't going to impact negatively the riverfront. I think it's a great piece of property.
have there been any, I know it's probably a little early, but have there been any valuations on that property against Colliers or anyone else on that?
I didn't bring the package with me, and I don't know that they put a price tag on it.
I think it's 15 million.
15 million?
And I know the port also has a couple of prospects, sort of in the wings, as does Collier, just waiting for the go from BASF as to what the situation is. So it's, it'll have quite a bit of attention once there's a directive from BASF as to what and how they can dispose of it.
So you think the industry that would go in there, being as it's sort of adjacent to the Virginia National Terminal, would be a maritime interest?
That would be your initial impression, and yet it's been quiet down that end of the road there for some time, and so you always run the risk of people thinking that they like it that way, or they wanna see something totally different down there, and all of those, ideas and thoughts will have to come together once we have something that's kind of stirred up and ready to talk about in the community. So I'm not positive, but I would suppose that it is.
Any idea how many residents are down in that little rest office area there?
No, but it's shrinking with regularity.
Probably kind of like Sugar Hill.
It's bigger than that.
Right.
Probably
I was gonna say,
about somewhere between 50 and 100 homes, be my guess.
Is that,
I'd ask our planning department some time ago to make that a special study area. All the old West Norfolk area, but the residential and the commercial and the industrial.
Yeah, I would think with everything else you've got going on there, you've got McGann there, and then the shipyard, and that whole area is, pretty much industrial now.
and we put all of that geography in our newest enterprise zone
Okay.
with the idea of seeing additional industrial development in and around that area as BASF and other properties come online.
Okay.
Very few properties in the state system, in particular in our regional system, that have that kind of acreage on such a great location and already zoned. So I think they're feeling like, it's a nice carrot. But it really will entail a lot of study as to its overall impact if it stands back up as something 24/7, for example. And one of the things that we also are doing is, as we look at all of our opportunities for port-related or maritime and industrial-related opportunities in Portsmouth, and we are looking at what those impacts would be relative to rail, truck, impacts on intersections, and the city manager's office has a team of folks looking at both, what would be the community impacts of additional truck traffic, additional rail lines. So we're wanting to make sure that we're kind of ahead of the curve on that instead of being put into a position of responding to angry complaints and calls, et cetera.
You don't make an omelet unless you crack a few eggs, we know that.
Sure.
I'd like to ask Laura, is the Port Authority got any kind of interest in this BAS property?
Well, we just wanna get a user on there, so that's our main interest for Portsmouth. We don't.
I would like to get a user too, but I'd like to see it state tax on the tax rolls in the city of Portsmouth.
Yeah, we don't have any interest in purchasing that facility.
I quote you on it.
But-
Well, I'd also like to introduce Miss Sarah McCoy. She's our manager of local government affairs, so she might have something
Good
to
morning,
say
Sarah.
on that.
We want a user. Yeah.
One user.
Someone who's gonna use our port. That's our goal.
Very good.
And I'd like to say, Sarah, I had an opportunity to have lunch with Sarah, the vice mayor, and we, I think, have established a good connection and a good dialogue with the board now that I think had been somewhat missing. I know that's something we all kind of wanted to strengthen as these larger decisions are being made. We want to be sure that we're communicating as effectively as we can. But, along those lines, I did see yesterday from the Virginia Marine Association the news about moving a couple of container lines to PMT.
Yeah.
If you'd like to maybe talk about that opportunity.
Yeah, so tomorrow we will see the CMA CGM Liberty Bridge move over to PMT for that inaugural call. And then on the 30th, we'll move the ATL2, TA2 service. That's a partnership between MSC and Maersk Line, and that'll call on the 30th. So now we have the Indus Express and then those two lines calling up PMT.
Is there some discussion about Atlantic Container Line coming back over there, ACL?
They're in negotiations with a couple more lines to come over there, but with those three lines, it's about 70,000 containers at the facility. So hopefully they'll get two more, and that'll make it around 100,000 throughput
Per year.
Yes.
And I was gonna call on you, I didn't know if you had anything else officially for us, I didn't have you on the agenda specifically, so.
Well, I just wanted to mention that, and then, at VIG, we're doing an interim kind of expansion in between. There's a 5-acre portion of land next to the stacks, and we're gonna move the rail containers out of the large stacks and put them in those 2 lanes, just to alleviate some congestion there, and that should be complete, in June, I believe.
There's one other thing on the minutes from our November meeting with that $1 million grant, and I feel like we sort of glossed over that. Do you still have anything that you could maybe just touch on that again?
Portsmouth has applied for it, for their fishing pier, so the applications are due March 1st, and we'll have a meeting February 20th at the port, just to have, communities present their projects to us, and then there'll be a decision made at the May board meeting as to who gets the funds.
So what kind of standing do we have trying to put in a fishing pier? Is there anything else that we're up against, or?
Yeah, some other projects, yes, but, we try to allocate the funds over everybody's projects and not just give it to one or another.
Okay. Very well, very well. All right.
Sarah,
The
do you know-
BASF property,
Yes, sir.
which is just south of the VIG. I'm just wondering, Chuck, the development of that property to handle big ships, to handle, say, some of the feeder ships that they seem to be pushing over the Portsmouth Marine Terminal.
Right. Well, I think the problem is the water depth there, and we don't have the funds, I don't think, to dredge that deep. You know, APM was created through a private company that was able to dredge to 55 feet. So, we have, you know, the capabilities to expand at VIG, and then Craney Island, of course, is our next big thing. So, I don't think we need that land for a container terminal.
You're welcome to that. I think it would be a great place if they could bring a feeder ship right in there adjacent to the VIG. And I know that dredging is expensive, but look what they do in Europe. We need to get the state of Virginia in on a project like that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely, absolutely, I appreciate it. Okay, well, I think that's about everything we have. Is there any other business to be brought forth? Well, I thank everyone for attending, and we'll look forward to our next meeting in February, last Tuesday of February, right? Okay.
Yeah, should be the one.
Fourth Tuesday.
And I have signature cards for our treasurer and chairman for the bank, if you'll sign in 3 places.
That will be, yeah, watching.
You and the county, yes, please.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know I can't recall the date, but you might want to remind all of your commissioners, if they don't already have invitations, that the Propeller Club, for the second time, I think, in history, is coming to Portsmouth for a social event
Yeah, absolutely.
to Mario's. The only other time I know they've ever been was at Ocean Marine some years
Right.
ago.
And
And
I appreciate you
we
bringing
need to
that up.
welcome
I did
them
notice
with
that.
open
I
arms.
intend on being there, and I think if any other members of this commission can make that event, for the Propeller Club to come over to Portsmouth, I think it's a pretty good thing, and we need to support that definitely.
So we'll circulate something.
There's your party.
I can't remember what it is, but I'll send it to you and you can send it back out to the commissioners.
I had it on my calendar, and I can't find
Yeah.
it. It's sometime in February.
I saw something.
11th?
11th, and
Is it Mario's or Molino's?
Marriott.
Mario's.
Mario's, okay.
you come over and see what's really going on in the maritime now.
There you go.
Yeah, it's from 5 to 7 on the 11th at Mario's.
Right. Okay.
And it's like $25 or
Yeah, I expect to see everybody there.
something.
Okay.
In fact, do you all have name tags that say Portsmouth Port and Industrial Commission?
We do not.
You ought to for something like that.
We should, we really
It
should.
could be paper, but it's a nice way to greet folks coming from other
It is.
cities.
Yeah, how fast can we get name tags made?
We can do that. we'll circulate, we'll forward them with the details that we have.
It'd be nice to have some decent name tags, not just a piece of paper you stick on your lapel. Okay, that'll be fun, thank you, I appreciate that.
And Ned's buying all the drinks, that's what I heard.
I could probably do something in the interest of the business. I guess that's it.
Sir. I want y'all to know Ned's very happy. He had a ship laid up down at PFP. He couldn't put any grain in because it was not clean, but he finally got it cleaned out.
Got it
And
clean and we're loading it.
750 tons, so
57,750
Yeah.
tons.
bring it. So watch it when she goes down the road.
Should be on. So that's how we keep our channel straight.
Yeah, we keep our
Yeah.
channel straight. Okay.
What's the story? Did they send it?
Well, thank you, everybody.